Although the flight to Fiji was 11 hours from Los Angeles, my journey began here in Atlanta, Georgia. There was a short drive from the airport to the passing point where many players had entered the game before. We were at Ponderosa, a small resort staffed by con locals in a boat deck big enough for 4 or more boats. On the third day at Pondy, production sat us all down and said, "You all are about to starve. There's no peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or trail mix hidden in the bushes. This will be hard, and we cannot help you." And at that moment, I knew it was time to compete on the 46th season of Survivor. Survivor is a game of mental and physical endurance with a ton of social navigation. But college is the true place to test these skills. For the last decade, I've coached students on how to apply to college, parents on how to pay for college students on how to graduate from college, and even education foundations and corporate companies on how to recruit from where? College. Yet despite these efforts, we still see a number of challenges for our first-generation low-income students. According to a report, first-generation low-income students often experience an unmet financial need, only averaging $6,000 before student loans, and oftentimes lack a true sense of connection to campus. Despite these efforts, we've still seen a number of students struggle when it comes to applying and graduating from college. Today, I want us to reflect. Reflect on what it truly means to strive in college. Whether it was your toughest professor or your wildest party. Maybe it was your first roommate or those milestones leading up to graduation. Whatever it is, I can guarantee that each of those moments parallel with the power of connection, the impact of community, or the value of contribution. If we can help more students consider these principles, then we're not only sending them to college, we're helping them survive college. That's our challenge. And for the next 10, now 12 minutes, I'd like to share with you more techniques on how we help all students graduate. Let us begin with the power of connection. Connection is the key to striving in college. But what do you do when the first connection you need to make, the one with yourself, feels broken by failure? When I first arrived at Morehouse College, I thought I knew exactly what I was doing. Or better yet, I thought what worked well in my old environment would work even better in my new environment. Then this Arlington, Virginia native, high-achieving male of color with an abundance of charisma failed. Not just an exam, not just a presentation. I failed the first course of my major, national government. Now, considering the climate, I'm sure we could all use a refresher. Failing the first course of my major was a humbling disappointment. I remember staring at the F in the Blackboard portal, and for the first time I had to admit I had no idea what I was doing. If in college or life you had no idea what you were doing, raise your hand. It was that moment that forced me to ask myself, what am I here to achieve? This question confronted me a few challenges in on Survivor 46. Out of the 3 tribes, Nami, Siga, and Yanu, Siga had become this little tribe that could. We were never in first place, and we rarely came in last place. So what's that make us? Competitors. Picture this. I'm in a boat. It's a reward challenge. No tribe member could be eliminated, but the top 2 tribes could win an uncooked batch of fish. Production told us this would be hard. The challenge involved rowing a boat to shore after retrieving a key, using a key to unlock a set of rings, digging a hole big enough for each tribe member, and then tossing the rings back onto a pole. Let's go back to the boat. Because instead of reaching for the key, I stepped out of the boat and flipped the platform multiple times. Many times, ladies and gentlemen, that's life. But a lot of times, that's college. You are bound to fail just as many times as you are committed to trying. But the ultimate goal is to finish. So, I untied the knot from underwater, swam back to the boat, and helped my tribe paddle to shore. We didn't win that challenge. But it was in that moment that forced me to ask myself, what am I here to achieve? That night at camp, I sat with that question. Survivor required a great deal of sacrifice in order to be successful. Although I hadn't seen or heard from my family in over 2 weeks, playing Survivor was about representing who I was to them, the Spicer, party of four. Playing Survivor was about demystifying myths that black people didn't swim, because I knew I would be swimming on a syndicated television show for several episodes. Playing Survivor was about embracing failure to foster success. Remember when I failed national government? I sat with that question again after my first semester at Morehouse College. Back then, it was about earning my degree, graduating with a high-paying job, and leveraging the network. But as I inched closer to graduation, ideologies such as servant leadership and achievement in every field of human endeavor deepened my connection to self. So the same goes for every student. When you're lost in the sauce, as Gucci Man would say, you must reconnect with your why. You must reconnect with who you are. I learned that failure doesn't define you, it refines you. That failure was the first opportunity to connect with the ideal me, but not necessarily the real me. But connection doesn't happen in isolation. After all, no one survives alone. Not in college, not in life, and especially not on an island. Which brings me to the power of community, the impact of community. In college, you survive with community. At Morehouse, I found that community wasn't something you could just stumble upon, yet it was something you created, something you built, moment by moment and memory by memory. Take Fried Chicken Wednesdays, for example, a cherished tradition at many historically black colleges and universities. It was more than a meal. It was a communal experience. Over a plate of fried chicken, collard greens, and cornbread, we found laughter. We found advice and a sense of home amidst everything college threw our way. For some, community does look like Fried Chicken Wednesdays. For others, it could be the tailgate before a big game, or the all-nighter before a final exam, and even the rush before choosing the right organization. I learned that community was more than just being present. It was about showing up for others while discovering your own path. I saw this lesson come to life once again after playing Survivor. Some of my most meaningful moments didn't happen in the game itself, but in the relationships it created afterwards. I met a community of all-star players, unforgettable and committed diehard super fans, and I even hosted 4 watch parties, including one in Bermuda. I invited Sadasia Thompson, Charlie Davis, and Ben Katzman into my home. It was these moments, sharing photos, stories, and memories with people invested in my journey, that transformed Survivor from a game into a lifelong community. That's exactly what you're doing in college, growing with your lifelong community. But that community is not just about who surrounds you. It's about who grounds you. Picture this. a floating obstacle course where no tribe member could be left behind. As our boats approached the challenge, I saw the basketball hoops at the end, and I immediately knew that I would be the shooter. Now, basketball does run in my family, but there's also this unwritten assumption that all black people excel in this arena. Debatable. Well, let's see after this next Survivor story. Survivor had taught me something that college already had. That failure is not the end, it's the beginning. Although I had fallen off the platform a few challenges ago, I adjusted, I adapted. Community keeps you moving forward even after a fall. So I took one leap from one platform to the next, and it was time to shoot. First basket, good. Second basket, great. But the third basket felt like eternity. My arms burned and my balance wavered. And in that moment, I thought to myself, what am I here to achieve? I thought about how my siblings would never let me live this down if I failed the basketball challenge. My brother played basketball at Fayetteville State University, and my sister played basketball at Chicago State University. But I was the swimmer in the family. And then it clicked. Community had motivated me to perform. And so as the final two shooters came down to basket 3, someone shouted, "Use your legs!" And with one final push, Steph Curry from downtown, I sunk the third basket. And in that moment, I learned that community lies within. It's the people that live on your heart and the loved ones that live in your mind. So if community has shaped who we are, then the next and final question is this: how do we return the favor? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring us to the value of contribution. A contribution is not as easy as a double tap. In fact, the word comes from the Latin contributi, meaning to add to or to bring together. Quick poll. If you picked up a passion project in the pandemic, raise your hand. I did. After a few weeks of binging HGTV, I was a self-proclaimed architect. Now, raise your hand if your passion project evolved into a limited liability company, an LLC. Guilty again. I was convinced that U-Homes, a student housing proposal built out of shipping containers, would be acquired by a student housing developer. And last but not least, if that passion project, now LLC, is somewhere collecting dust, raise your hand. Okay, you got me. What I love about every TEDx speaker is their relentless dedication to an idea. With U-Homes, my goal is to contribute sustainable living for sustainable minds. You may not know exactly what you want to contribute or how, but we all have something to offer the world. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, life's most pressing and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? For me, the answer is simple: solving common challenges students face on the road to graduation. So I would be remiss if I wrote a TED Talk called Surviving College and did not provide 4 tips on how to survive college. Tip 1, set SMART goals. Tip 2, organize. Tip 3, seek support. And tip 4, prioritize self-care. So, as a survivor of obstacles, of college, of parenthood, and of a reality TV island, I hope that you see depth and determination go far beyond what's portrayed. From the moment I introduced these principles, the power of connection, the impact of community, and the value of contribution, I recognized that this is hard work. But it is also heart work. So the first question I want you to ask yourself is, what will my heart work be? Students, You will not win at every challenge. However, you must embrace failure to foster success. Whether you're at the beginning of your college journey, somewhere in the middle, or maybe you graduate this year, I encourage everyone to ask yourself, what am I here to achieve? Thank you.